kid, or? All right. I did that because I used to do something different every year at St. Matthew's, and they would just boo me and everything. Just, come on, be serious about all this. All right, I'm going to offer some prayers that come straight out of our prayer book, beginning with clergy and people. Almighty and everlasting God, from whom cometh every good and perfect gift, send down upon our bishops and other clergy, and upon the congregations committed to their charge, the healthful spirit of thy grace, that they may truly please thee. Pour upon them the continual dew of thy blessing. Grant this, O Lord, for the honor of our advocate and mediator, Jesus Christ. And we say amen. And a prayer for the parish. Almighty and ever-living God, ruler of all things in heaven and earth, hear our prayers for this parish family. Strengthen the faithful, arouse the careless, and restore the penitent. Grant us all things necessary for our common life, and bring us all to be of one heart and mind within your holy church, through Jesus Christ, our Lord. And we pray for this meeting as we have gathered. Almighty and ever-living God, source of all wisdom and understanding, be present with those who take counsel in this annual meeting for St. Richard's and for the renewal and mission of your church. Teach us in all things to seek first your honor and glory. Guide us to perceive what is right, and grant us both the courage to pursue it and the grace to accomplish it. Through Jesus Christ, our Lord. And one final prayer. And don't start cheering when I said one final prayer. Almighty God, giver of every good gift, look graciously on your church, and so guide the minds of those who shall choose a rector for this parish, that we may receive a faithful pastor who will care for your people and equip us for our ministries through Jesus Christ, our Lord. Amen. Everything good? We're good? Okay.
All right, thank you, Meryl, for the opening prayers. So we have the agenda up. I'm going to kind of talk a little bit about it, just so everybody knows the format and the topics we're going to cover today. First, I'm going to give a head of congregation report, which will kind of cover the things that I've seen since I've become head of congregation after Cameron left. Just a little bit of an overview of the things that we're facing in this coming year, and to give some thank yous too for everybody's support of St. Richard's, not just of me and the position I'm in right now, but the many people that step up and volunteer to support St. Richard's. So I want to give some thank yous for that. And then we'll go into the treasurer report. David Todd is here and he's going to cover our finances. Immediately following his report, we're going to open it up for questions, and we'll have a microphone available for people that want to ask a question, and David and I will do our best to answer those questions. And then we'll continue with the meeting. We'll have some ministry updates. Warren Gillespie will give us an update on the pumpkin patch and how we did this year and the things that we did the last year and what we're looking forward into the coming year. And then we'll have a little message from Spencer and a couple of the youth. And then we'll do some business. We'll have our vestry and delegate elections. And then we'll have some closing remarks. I don't expect this meeting to go past 1:30. Probably will be over shorter than that. But I want to make sure that we have enough time for everyone to ask their questions after the finance report. Okay. Let me see if my clicker works. Yes, it does. Okay. First of all, I want to say thank you to everyone that's here supporting St. Richard's. I mean, it's obvious that we have a lot of dedicated members of St. Richard's, caring people, dedicated of their time, their talent, and their treasures in support of this church. And it's overwhelming, the love that you display every day for each other and for those in our community. One of the many special qualities of our St. Richard's family is our enthusiasm to serve the Lord and to love those that walk through our now repaired red doors. So thanks, Jeff Kreck, for that. So serving the church can be truly transformative. And I know many of you have experienced this over the years as you step into new roles. It's life transforming. I mean, you grow closer to God, grow closer with each other, and truly understand what a communion with each other in a congregation, a family, really means. I want to thank the vestry of St. Richard's. It's been an interesting year in 2024 as a vestry as we started to recognize some of the financial concerns that are in front of us. Father Cameron announcing his departure. Being on the vestry is a pretty big commitment of your time and talent. Many people bring different things to the vestry, and I think right now we have a very well-rounded, blended group of people that each have different individual strengths. So I want to, thank those that are involved, motivated. It's a fearless team. It's been exciting this past year to just hear the folks that are stepping up and asking questions, probing questions, making suggestions, and then really stepping in to find solutions. It's been a real pleasure to work with everybody on the vestry. I would like to recognize those that have finished their 3 years of vestry service and that are rotating off the vestry. So if you're here, would you please stand? David Carlson. Lucinda Saxon. And Jonathan Wickline. We appreciate the time that you spent with us. Thank you. I'm going to ask those that are continuing on the vestry to stand. I'm going to mention their names. Chris Elfring, Warren Gillespie, Renee Lyle, Ernest Muller, Bobby Schmidt, Margaret Smallstrom, and Kyle Thomas. And I'm looking forward to serving together with you in 2025. Like I said, and everybody's kind of aware, we have more than a few challenges facing us, but there is no group I'd rather be working together on these issues than you all. So thank you. St. Richard's is also blessed to have so many parishioners that love to serve in our other ministries. And I'd like to take a quick moment to recognize a few of them for their generous gifts of their time and talent. Also, in this wonderful word cloud heart, I've put the names of a lot of the various volunteers that lead different ministries throughout St. Richard's. So if you see your name, thank you. First, I'd like to recognize Duke Dutiel. Duke serves as head verger and leader of the Acolytes. He's also an AV master. He's here early, leaves late, and does so much behind the scenes and also in front of the church, helping to keep our services running smoothly. Thank you. I'd like to recognize his significant other, Diane Dutiel. Diane stepped up to help lead our children's ministry through a difficult time of transition following Mother Kelly's departure. She continues to try out new things and curriculum to attract children into our Sunday school program. She also leads Women's Kairos, and in her spare time, she keeps our choir music organized. So thank you. I don't know if we might need to go get her, but Kathy Stites, I'd like to recognize her. She's probably in the kitchen. Oh, there she is. Great. Kathy leads our parish life team, which provides a very important type of nourishment for our church body. Delicious food, Kathy, thank you. And if anyone has time following the meeting, she would really love some help cleaning up. The dishwasher we can easily train people on how to run the dishwasher. I'd like to recognize Warren Gillespie, our Pumpkin Meister. He also serves on the vestry. Warren just displays a tireless dedication to seeing our annual pumpkin patch be successful. He'll share more about the patch in a bit, but he deserves our appreciation for many long days spent in October, and honestly in September too, and in November, pretty much every month, serving our community in the biggest outreach program we engage in. I'd like to recognize David Todd. Oh, he's right there. Okay. Yeah, David's been our treasurer for the past 10 years. He's up next on the agenda and will be providing us information on our finances. I truly believe that it wasn't for David's foresight in building up our cash reserves in the early years of his tenure, we would not have been able to sustain our church like we did when COVID hit. So David, thank you for that. And last but surely not least, Jeff Kreck. Where is Jeff? So Jeff rolled off our vestry at last year's annual meeting, but thankfully he didn't roll very far. Jeff leads our garden ministry along with his wife Nancy, and he also continues to serve as our junior warden emeritus. And Jeff, you do so many things to keep our church property beautiful, as well as working properly. And so thank you from the bottom of our hearts. All right. I'll try again. So this past year has been full of unexpected news. And I don't think I could have made it this far without your prayers, support, and love. Being called to serve as senior warden is a special calling, and it comes with a hefty bit of responsibility, and I dare say risk. I had served as senior warden under Father Stu, so it wasn't like I didn't know what I was getting into. But maybe I should have listened to that little voice. I call her Robin. That told me to expect the unexpected. And well, that unexpected thing happened in October of last year when Father Cameron told me about his call to serve as canon of vocations in the Diocese of Alabama. So before Cameron's departure, the vestry had been looking at a few challenges we were facing at St. Richard's, and we were starting to look for solutions. Our Sunday school program needed a reboot. We had seen a steady decline in Sunday school attendance even before COVID, and began to adjust the format of the curriculum in hopes of bringing back younger families. Our average Sunday attendance had not recovered following Stu's departure in the COVID pandemic. In 2024, this past year, our average Sunday attendance was 173, which was a 40% decline since 2018, when it was 285. Our expenses continue to increase with inflation, with significant increases in commercial insurance, cleaning services, flowers, pest control, electricity, and more. Our last capital campaign ended in 2023, and we still had over $1 million on our parish hall debt obligations to pay off. And now we had to begin a rector search. We'll get into our financials in a minute, but to say stepping into the role of head of congregation is a little overwhelming right now would be an understatement. However, I do think the Lord equips us to answer his call. My own professional journey maybe is an example, we'll see. I've been the owner of a portfolio of healthcare solutions for the past 8 years, managing a team of over 200 employees, generating over 100 million in revenue each year. I did announce my retirement last year in July and began preparing my successor for the transition. And my last day is at the end of this month. Yes. I'm not going to say I've got the problems that St. Richard's figured out, but I do know I've dealt with some stressful financial hurdles for years. And we'll have more time soon, once I retire, to work on ours here. What sustained me during the 33 years I worked for my company were the people, the team. And I see that same desire here to make this church sustain. Folks that are pledging have been increasing their pledges every year. You can see that on the chart. It's a steady increase. Every time we ask, people are pledging more on average. Everyone here wants the church to grow and better serve the community around us. We have a beautiful property and an amazing parish hall that is rented out on a regular basis. And we are all here to love and serve the Lord. And since Cameron's departure, I've seen an outpouring of support and prayers and people asking, how can I help? So how can I help? We'll hear some of how you can help financially in a minute, but a few things we can all do to help are give a little more. Robin and I are committing to increasing our pledge excuse me, by 20%. And I encourage you to do the same. And look for ways to help. There is a lot here, or a lot to do here to sustain St. Richard's. We have beautiful property that needs our sweat equity to keep it shining. We have committees to serve on, groups to join, plates to clean, shrubs to clip, and roles to fill. We need to be open to God's call, knowing that He will equip you for the task at hand. Don't give up. I know that it may be hard to continue in hope and faith for calmer waters and smoother sailing, but I encourage all of us to renew our faith and trust that God is working among us. And finally, pray. Our church needs your prayers. Our vestry needs your prayers. Our ministry needs your prayers. And I need your prayers. So thank you. Thank you. And now for some fun stuff. Our finances. David, when you're ready. You don't want to get up here and talk about our finances. I don't necessarily blame you, but I think we should. Okay, I'm going to switch mics over to him. And while we're waiting for David to pull up his presentation, let's give Kathy Stites and the Parish Life team one more round of applause.
All right, can everybody hear me? All right, very good. Well, hi everybody. Steve, come up here for just a second. I just want to say that, I've been, like you said, treasurer for 11, 12 years, 40 years. I don't know what it is. It all runs together. But one thing that has always been consistent in my tenure is the Mueller family in this church. And I don't think that we could be more blessed with a family that has given more to this church. Robin was the senior warden when we went through our last rector transition during COVID. And now Stephen is going through the same thing. And I just want to say that we cannot thank this family enough for what they do for this church. So give them a round of applause. All right. I see a lot of familiar faces and a lot of faces that I don't recognize. I usually go to the 8 o'clock service, so, we come when the sun's not up and, don't see us real often. But just a little bit about myself for those who don't know me. I've been a member here since 2012. I was visiting St. Richard's. I came here, my wife wasn't able to make it, and, true to when you're visiting churches, and I was sitting in the back, didn't say a whole lot to anybody. On the way out, our previous rector, Stuart, came chasing out of the parking lot in full vestments, like, hey, hold on a second. And then a couple weeks later, I was treasurer. So, no, I'm just kidding. It took about a year. But, this place is really important to me personally. When my wife had a stroke in 2007, and then one day she woke up and she decided she wanted to go back to church again. And so we started looking around. And up to that point, 2007 was kind of a wake-up call for me, where I was drifting through life in my 20s, early 30s, and as I started waking up and started, what do they call it now, adulting, that St. Richard's really helped me a lot. I didn't finish college when I went around the first time, but in my tenure here, I had a lot of great people that helped me along the way, just giving me great advice about life and different things. And I don't think that without the people here that have supported me, especially Stuart, I can think of so many other people that have been a really great help to me. Some of them are no longer with us, but I wouldn't have had the courage to go back to A&M and get my degree, which was like a really big source of shame for me. I also went back later and got my MBA, and I went from a guy who was just kind of drifting through life. Now I'm a director in a consulting company, and I testify in court on construction projects and different things. And this place has been so important to me in my journey and getting, the congregation having confidence in me to be treasurer, to do different things, supporting me when I served, when I ran for the executive board, which I served on for 6 years. So I am just really grateful to everybody that sits in this room that has supported me on my own personal journey. And I don't think I would have been able to do it without St. Richard's. And the other part that I wanted to share with you guys is, over the last 10 years, one of the best things about being treasurer is getting to see behind the scenes everything that's going on. And even learning our 40-odd year history of going back, and like when I was putting together the master plan, our 5-year plan to build this place back in the early 2014, 2015. And learning the history of how we were across the street, how we moved here, and how this place has evolved. Lots of faces have come and gone through the years, but it still is one of the most welcoming places that I have ever been a part of. And learning all the amazing things. You guys have only heard, like when he was mentioning a few people, that's only like a tip of the iceberg of what everybody does at this church. And I think that at one point, there's something like 50-something different ministries that, whether they're official or not official, they go on at this church that people do and support. It is amazing. And I'm just really grateful that I've gotten to be a part of learning everybody's story about what's important to them, what brings them joy, what God calls them to do. It's just amazing to watch these things. And so I've seen a lot of ups and downs at St. Richard's. Like when I first took over as treasurer, we didn't have enough money to make payroll one week. And we've come a long way since then. And in a lot of ways, we've grown, we've gotten better, done things. The last couple of years have been a struggle, and I'm going to talk a little bit about that in just a minute. But the way this place has evolved and grown over the last 11 years, and there's people who have been here since the beginning that can even speak more to this. It's just, this place is amazing. And there's things that we can do better always, but the core thing about caring for each other and caring about what we do, that is here implicitly and intrinsically, and it's amazing to watch what people do. So I could go and I have for example here, I have all the financial statements here. I could go through these if you guys want me to, but so what I'm going to talk about more is kind of what's been happening over the last couple of years. Everybody knows that over the last 5 years, the U.S., the world, there's been a lot of crazy stuff going on. And I'm sure that you guys already know this, but St. Richard's has gone through a hard time over the last 5 years too. Just some really big bumps in the road. Just to give you guys a little bit of history, back in 2014, we put together a 5-year master plan that resulted in the construction of this place. Also, some other goals were to increase staffing, and then also to build up reserve funds for economic uncertainty or uncertainty of what's going to happen. And so we built up over 5 years, we put every chance we got, we built up money, and we had, you know, a couple of $100,000 in reserves to handle rough times. Now, when I was planning back then, I was planning for uncertain times, but I would not have anticipated what's happened over the last 5 years. But we still try to, you know, make sure that we had a backup plan in case things didn't go the way we thought they would. And here we are, 2018, things started happening. Stuart, our previous rector, decided to take a call. It was very great timing because we just launched a capital campaign at that point, and then the rector moved on. We went for almost a year, maybe a year and a half without a rector, and that's when Robin was such a great leader for us. And during that, COVID hit, and we weren't able to meet together for a long time. We weren't able to do things. We found Cameron. We've had him for a few years. We just recently lost him this last October to another calling. And throughout all of that, since COVID, we've watched all kinds of things happen where nobody really knows what's going on with the economy anymore. I mean, it's nothing like it was back 5 years ago. But everybody agrees that everything's more expensive in general. And it's also harder for everybody to think about the future because you really don't know what's going to happen, right? And so just like it's, you know, like your household or your household budget, we've hit some tough times. And fortunately, because we had hindsight, the finance committee and the vestry, we all planned for this. But I never planned on 5 years of tough times. A couple of years maybe, but that's where we are right now, is that we're just kind of coming to that point where the piggy bank is going empty. And as St. Richard's, as we've gone, you know, we've watched, you know, Stephen showed a graph that things have gotten more expensive, attendance has gone down a little bit. Is that, you know, just honestly speaking, is that lots of people have expanded their pledges over the years, given more money. We have some new pledges. We always have new pledges last year. Last year, the diocese gave us a matching grant that for every new pledge we got, they would give us a match up to $25,000. We had a bunch of new pledges last year. But however, in general, you know, giving, which is like the biggest part, by far the biggest part of our revenue, we make some money from, you know, renting out the parish hall and some other different things, but it's very small compared to what giving does for our church. And as I'll show you here in just a minute with one graph, that it's just kind of, we've gone up sometimes. Like for example, like 2014 to 2019, revenue was going way up, and then COVID hit and all the other stuff started happening, and it's almost like we started over, kind of like reset from back to 2014 giving levels. And over the last couple of years, it's just stayed static. And there's a core group of people here that give faithfully year in, year out, increase pledges, but there's also just, you know, at large, giving has just kind of remained static through the years. And that's just, you know, I don't have the answer for that. You know, we're working really hard on trying to figure out how we can make that work better, but, you know, we've been really fortunate that we had two rectors that were really, really involved in this church, Cameron and Stuart, that really were hands-on, really took leadership role into stewardship, leading us, teaching us, guiding us. Right now we don't have that. It's up to us. And I've always argued that, you know, churches always tend to rely on clergy pretty heavily, but it shouldn't be that way. You know, they're not St. Richard's. Cameron and Stuart are not St. Richard's. We're St. Richard's. And we have to, whether it's giving $1, giving 20 minutes to come pull some weeds, or doing something, we all have a part to play if we want this church, if we want this place to stay here, and we want it to grow and we want it to thrive. And that's the big picture I wanted to tell you guys is that, you know, I can sit here and I can show you numbers all day long about how things look, what's happened, what's going on, but the big picture is that things have gotten more expensive and our giving hasn't kept track with it, and that's it. And that's the story over here. And I talked about giving and talked about expenses. One thing that I do want to address also is that, you know, over the last couple of years, we've had some meetings, we've sent out some letters, and, you know, a lot of times people will say, well, we didn't know it was this bad. And my answer to that is, well, we did send out letters, we did communicate, but I spent some time thinking about this and some time praying and talking to people, and, you know, while we did send out letters saying, like, the big picture was bad, but we haven't really and this kind of comes more to me, is we haven't reported like on a regular basis, like monthly or something like that. So what we're going to do going forward in 2025 is, if you guys have a desire to, I'm going to have a meeting sometime in late February, early March, where we're going to take like a, to be in between services or maybe one weeknight, where we'll take a deep dive into St. Richard's financials if you want to. If you have trouble sleeping, I would come and encourage you to do it. But I don't handle financials typically like reading numbers. This is our budget and our financials are actually really the story of what we're doing at St. Richard's, and that's actually really the approach that I take. So I promise it won't be boring if you guys want to come to it. But also I'm going to start reporting monthly, whether it be in the weekly service, at the end of the month on weekly service bulletin, just a little snapshot of what we're doing. I'm also going to have quarterly meetings where we'll do like in between a service on a Sunday where, again, you can come and we'll go a little deeper into the numbers, understanding things. But and we'll continue to send out letters with giving statements and letting you guys know when things are going on. But so it's been kind of a mixed bag that, when some people say, well, we didn't know anything was going on. Well, it was communicated somewhat, but probably not good enough. So that's my personal commitment in 2025, is to make it better to do that. A couple of other things that are going on is that our church budget has gotten to the point now where we actually have to do third-party audits. And so we've engaged an auditing firm to go back and audit 2022, 2023, and 2024. And so it takes a couple of months for those things to happen, especially like they're having to go through all of it for the first time, so it takes a while for the auditor to get their handle on things. And so it's going to be a few months before that report's ready, but we'll publish it once it gets sent to us, okay? So let's talk just a little bit about 2024 numbers. I don't want to take too much time with those. But at the end of the day, really it comes down to is that, we had a certain amount of cash to start the year, and we ended with a certain amount of cash for the year, and we actually used $73,000 more than what we brought in for the year. And so we can talk how much money we made in revenue, we can talk about how much we spent on expenses. This is one of the few churches that I've been a part of, like working in finance at the diocesan level and all these things. We really manage our expenses as possibly can be. Steve talked about a little bit about the insurance going up. I anticipated insurance going, just to give an example, like kind of a shock, is that I budgeted for insurance to go up 10%, but they increased it 24%. They were catching up, so to speak, because they haven't increased it, even though they have been for the last couple of years. But the security service that we have on Sundays went up 10%. Cleaning service went up almost 20%. So those things just kind of really, and the problem is that we budget for it, but we really never know because they renew on an annual basis. Like our insurance renews every August. So I can only anticipate what it might be, and we got some big sticker shock with that. So this is really what's been going on the last couple of years, is we've just been using more money than what we've been bringing in. It's as simple as that. And we had money built up in reserves. We've also done different things where, for example, because we paid off so much of our loan during the early stages, which we originally owed $3.4 million. We're down to a little bit over $1 million, and that's over 7 years ago when we first started doing it. So one thing I did is I went to our bank and said, we were paying $16,000 a month, and I went to our bank and asked them, since our debt was over 60% done, could they re-amortize the loan, and it reduced our payment by half. So we've been doing all the things that we can, all these little moves, and trying to get all these different things done to stretch that money out that we had in reserves to save money here and save money there. But we're at that point now where we're reaching the end of our thing, and it's probably third quarter of this year that if things don't change, we're not going to have the money in reserve anymore, that we're using more of the thing, and so we're just going to run out. And so really we're going to be living paycheck to paycheck monthly, and that's going to lead to some, just telling you right now, that's going to lead to decisions. And a lot of our costs are fixed. We have to have electricity, we have to have clergy, we have to have all these different things, and we run a pretty tight ship for a church our size. We only have 3 people on staff, and with a rector we only had 4. So really, I think you guys would agree that we need more staff than that, right? And so that's where we are right now, and it's not dire. We're not going to shut the lights off and have candlelight services or things like that, but we're just reaching that point. And so whenever I say, some people may think, well, I don't have that much money, it's not really going to help. If you put $1 in there, it's going to help. And I mean, it's really, every single dollar helps, because you have people like Jeff Kretsch and other people, sorry to pick on you, but they take $1 and turn it into 4 or 5. And a lot of people around here do that. We are so blessed to have some amazing people that do so much for us. And that's the other thing too, is that there's a lot of stuff that Steve mentioned that can be done that we have to pay for ordinarily, but if we had volunteer taking care of it, we wouldn't have to do it. So even if the monetary aspect of it is not part of something you're able to do, there's lots of other ways that you can help the St. Richards that will benefit financially, and lots of other ways too. So I wanted to show a little bit about how we manage our expenses. So this was last year, and there's lots of different categories that we have in our budget. But one I wanted to show you was that you can see that for the most part, all of them are either flat or, you know, they're very close to being net zero. Uh-oh. We'll pause for just 1 second while we... Okay, so the only areas where we were not really manage our budget very well are 2 categories, and those are the categories that include insurance and the costs that I was talking about that we got big sticker shock on. But for the most part, everything else is pretty much in line. And the other thing too is that with Cameron leaving in October, November, December, one small part is that we did have a cost savings of not having to pay the salary of the rector. But I just want to show you guys that we do a very good job of managing our expenses, and everybody tries really hard to spend as little as possible and to stretch every dollar as much as we can. This is the other thing I wanted to show you guys over the last couple of years. This is our revenue and expenses that without any loan payment in it. And there's a couple of years that there's outliers, and there's explanation for those, and I won't go into the long detail, but just kind of showing you that we've done pretty well over the years, except for those 2023 and 2020 of managing expenses. But I wanted to show you guys what it looks like when we put our loan payments in there. So, and that's really where this thing has been, the problem started. Just to give you a little bit more history, is that our capital campaigns, the 2 that we ran over the last 10 years or so, the last one ending in 2023, we only really got, with the exception of some very large gifts that were not part of the original thing, they were just kind of very generous surprises, that we only realized about 50% of the $2 million we tried to raise with both of those capital campaigns. And that's based on people pledging and then not fulfilling for whatever reason it may have been. But this is why you can just see over the last couple of years that this is why we are where we are right now, is we're just using up our money. And, you know, we're just at the point of where all the planning we did in the past really helped out, but we're just at the point now where we can't stretch much more.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
How do we reduce our spending?
Well, that's the thing, is I was just saying, is that we really can't reduce our spending. We run a very lean church. Like our church, for example, a congregation of our size should have 2 full-time clergy people. And we only have had 1 for most of the time that I've been treasurer. Sometimes we've had a full-time clergy person, but not any extensive period of time. We need a family minister. We haven't had that for quite a while. So there's lots of things in there that, like our budget, our expenses right now is where it's already pretty lean. And if we try, you know, that's one of the first places, whether you're a for-profit corporation or your household budget, is how do we cut? Well, I'm going to argue the other thing is that the stuff that we have right now, if we start cutting expenses, that's actually going to hurt our church in the long run too. Because if we start cutting, for example, like youth ministry, we don't spend money on it, that's going to lead to lower attendance because people aren't coming as much. So the stuff that we have now is absolutely critical to keeping us where we are, and also kind of keeping us at a point where we can continue to grow after we kind of try to get through this short-term financial period. So
If we're averaging $70,000 more than we're bringing in, and we can't do that in a household, business can't do that either.
right.
What are we gonna do?
Well, that's the thing that like Steve and I, we've all been talking about is that if we can't cut expenses without really hurting the church, because like I said, you're essentially cutting, the stuff that we have now is essentially like keeping the lights on kind of expenses. Wine, wafers, a clergy person eventually, electricity, parish administrator, those different things. Those are all absolutely critical expenses that we have to have. And so the only thing that you can't do, we can't really cut expenses anymore. We can save a little bit of money here and there, but the only thing to do is to increase giving or increase revenue in some way. So that's what we're talking about. I was talking about that we have a very small group of people, we have a small core group of people that give very faithfully, but we have a larger church family where I think that there's more opportunity for giving to be done. And we are going to do a Q&A here in just a little bit, so let me try to finish the presentation, and if you guys have questions, we can wrap those up, okay? And I want to talk a little bit about the parish hall, that just to tell you guys that some of the things that we've done is, you can see that our big loan, the FT Bank, which First Texas Bank is where we bank, you see the interest rate that we have at 4.3%? How many people would like to have that for their mortgage right now? Okay, so we spend a lot of time working with these guys, with our banks and with the two organizations that hold our two loans, and working on, again, like cutting the payment in half, getting a low interest rate, or keeping our interest rate low, because originally it was 4% and then kind of renews every 5 years. And they were very generous with us in understanding our position, because right now current rates are about 8 or 9% for a commercial loan. So we are doing everything in our power to stretch out our cash flow, to minimize expenses. I've had to tell people, I don't ever say no to people when they want to spend money on something, but it's always, you're going to have to wait. So there's lots of stuff that that people want to do that we're saying no to right now, because we are trying to watch our budget and trying to keep expenses as low as possible. So we have come a very long way that since 2017, we've paid off roughly 2/3 of our loan. And we only have, but the good news is that as part of our mitigation plan, we wanted to pay it off in 5 years, but I went ahead and got 20-year notes so that we could have lower minimum payments in case something ever happened, like what we've been going through the last couple of years. And let's talk about pledging just a little bit. For 2024, we had $506,000 pledged. And usually what happens is historically, we call it attrition for whatever reason. People's circumstances change, people move away, different things happen. But we never really get the full amount of our pledge. Usually about 13% is the historical average, and this year we got roughly 89% of what was committed. Now, the $506,000 is kind of the minimum need of pledging to run the church. And I'll show you guys on the 2025 budget what a real budget for St. Richard's looks like, for us to be fully funded, to have full-time clergy, and have available pastoral care and all that different stuff. And for 2025, we have a minimum need of $587,000, and we've gotten, I think last time I looked, it was like I looked yesterday, it was at $406,000 of pledging. So we still have a ways to go. So if you guys haven't filled out your pledge card, or you're still thinking about it, please do so as soon as you can and make a decision. But we still have a ways to go to meet our basic budget needs for that. All right, so let's talk about the 2025 budget. There's two budgets that you see here. One is conceptual, full budget, and this is kind of like fully funding, like my knowledge of what St. Richard's wants to do as a church, like with mission, ministry, programming. One of the big things that our church has always said, that we want to have more pastoral care available. Well, that requires like 2 full-time clergy people. So to fully fund St. Richard's is almost $1 million a year. Did anybody realize that? And the budget that we're operating off of for 2025 is much less than that. And we spend a lot of time going back and forth on this budget, trying to find every little place where we can cut every cent possible. And so this is what our budget looks like for 2025. And you might notice that, I don't know if there's a laser pointer on here or not, probably not. There we go. That right here where it says clergy salary and benefits, that this is the contemplating an interim rector that normally is about half of what a full-time clergy person would be. So if we still had Cameron, this would be much higher and we would be having a different conversation. So just kind of keep that in mind, that we're anticipating it's probably going to take a year or so to find a clergy person, just because of, I'm not even sure how all that stuff, what's going on with all that, but that's what I was told. So this budget doesn't even include a full-time clergy person, and we were having a hard time making things work. So that's what we want to tell you guys is that, you know, we're not cutting the lights off. I think sometime many years ago, somebody turned the lights off during a service saying we need money. We're not going to do that. But that's essentially what I want you guys to understand is that we've gone a long time telling everybody, maybe not as regularly as we should have, but the message has been there is that revenue is not, especially giving is not keeping up with what's going on. And, some people, another comment that I've heard kind of through the grapevine is, well, we never should have built this parish hall. How many people remember when we used to do Lenten suppers things in the narthex over there? Okay, it was awful, wasn't it? I mean, compared to like having this space and sitting over there doing those different things, could you imagine our life without this building now? Like, if you were here before we built this thing, can you guys imagine our life without it? We wouldn't have Kathy. So just keep that in mind that like this is what we built. This is what was in the mind and dream of the church since we moved here in 1996, and we got it built. And yes, we're having some trouble with it, but a lot of the stuff we just didn't anticipate some of the things that we ran into. But we planned as well as we could, and we were able to endure it for a long time. And now we're just kind of reaching the end of our endurance. We need some Gatorade. But that's all I have, and if you want to do Q&A or...
Yeah, so John Dixon has a mic. If you have a question, please raise your hand. John will bring the microphone over to you.
Please wait for the mic, otherwise the people that are listening online can't hear it.
So Mickey has a question, you have a question.
Okay.
I want to keep this to about 10 minutes at most, the Q&A part. We have a little bit extra the meeting to go through.
Thank you, sir. I just want to ask the last chart you showed up there was the clergy salary and benefits.
Mm-hmm.
Is that what we're looking for one person? Basically $157,000.
That's about what it costs, yes.
So if we do two, we're going to be up around $300,000.
Well, the assistant clergy will be a little bit less than the full rector, but approximately yes.
You guys get paid pretty good, huh? Coming out of seminary.
Well, that includes their benefits and pension and all that stuff.
Thank you, David. So I understood the answer that you gave Jerry in terms of where the church is in terms of our expenses. We're at a fixed point where we really can't cut expenses more. Mm-hmm. My question is, are you aware of any other funding sources that we haven't yet tapped into? I mean, if we were a private entity or something like that, grants or, diocesan matching funds or something else that would be a source besides just everybody giving what they're pledging, because we seem to be in need of a big infusion of cash.
Mm-hmm. Well, as far as, like I said, giving for any church or nonprofit is the vast majority of doing it. Now, some churches have the benefit of having endowments, and we've set that up, and the long-term goal is to begin to fund those endowments with the state planning and doing different things. Right now, in the short term, we can't really work on that. Now, as far as like diocesan grants and stuff available, there is stuff available, but the way it works is it has to have a specific purpose. They don't just give grants for general purpose using. And for example, like I've been communicating with the diocese, a couple of times a year about the financial status of our church and asking for different things. And the diocese was very generous and came back and said, we'll give you $25,000 if you can raise it. And so, they're willing to do some stuff like that, but in general, there's not stuff out there like that where they just give you money for your general purpose. There has to be like a grant has a specific purpose. Like if we wanted to do like a special kind of ministry, like you guys remember our, I forgot what it's called, but we had talks at the bar down in downtown Round Rock. What was the name of that?
Theology Live.
Yeah, something like that. Theology Live, that was it. So we got a grant to do that, but it has to have a specific purpose. And so there's not like funds out there that I could go apply for and just say that we need it for general use. And so it just doesn't really work that way. And because the assumption is that, the church should fund itself. And so that's where we are with that. And when I talk about expenses being, thing, is that right now, if we start cutting things, just imagine St. Richard's is like a living being, that we're out in the desert and we're kind of starting to get thirsty, we're starting to lose weight. We're at the point now where we start cutting muscle. If we make any more cuts, we cut into muscle and bone, and that hurts you in the long run because we won't recover from that. And that's why there's a certain minimum of things that we have to do in order to keep the church alive and hopefully growing. I think.
Hi there. I do have a question, but first, an opportunity. There's about 4 of us, 4 and a half, that do all the yard work with some help from contractors, but not much. It's about $30,000 worth of spend if we outsource it all. So if you want to mow, you want to trim, you want to weed, you want to edge, you want to do this, you want to do that, talk to the office. They know how to get a hold of me, and we'll put people to work. We also try to form a fix-it team to assist the junior warden with fixing stuff that's broken or doing small projects. There's a couple people that are on that team in here. We could use any and all kinds of skills to handle with labor costs that will subtract from the outlay in the budget. There's a lot of other ways to help the church, and I encourage everybody to do something this year. My question, though, is we have seen the charts where it shows we have a bunch of people who pledged last year but didn't pledge yet this year. This has been an ongoing topic at vestry meetings and finance committee meetings is what do we do? I hope the answer is yes, but I'm going to ask that do we have a plan to reach out to those people that haven't pledged, that used to pledge before, just to find out what's going on? There may be really good reasons why nobody's pledging this time, but it could be miscommunication or something. So I hope we're doing that.
We do.
Yeah, we do. Usually pledging kind of historically, people continue to pledge all the way up through the end of January, and so that's kind of when the official stop is. And then if we see that there are people that are pending, like from the year before or something like that, phone calls are usually made to do that. We are, in the last finance committee meeting, we were talking about doing that early February, after we kind of see what the final numbers are and what's going on, that we'll start reaching out on an individual basis to see what's happening.
Yeah, I just wondered, have we lost membership, considerably?
Well, I think that if you look at, giving usually kind of matches the growth of the church, whether it's membership or average Sunday attendance or whatever. And prior to COVID, prior to losing Stuart and COVID hitting kind of shortly after that, we were on a growth trajectory. And then, with COVID and not having in-person services, we lost some traction there. And that, just in general, that, people may be members here, but the average Sunday attendance, as Steve showed, is just kind of going down. But that's where we are with that.
This is Bobby Schmidt. I think I'm right, I may be wrong, but if you are giving to the church and pledging on e-giving, I believe in January you have to go back in there and reset it.
Mm-hmm.
So if you haven't gone back in and reset it, you may think you're pledging, but you're not.
Yeah.
You have to reset that every January.
Yeah. And there's been some emails that went out like in December and this month that trying to remind people to do that.
One more question. One more?
I realize that we definitely need more cash coming in here. Some other churches actually do a second collection once a month for a specific purpose.
Mm-hmm.
I can see where some people would feel uncomfortable about pledging or pledging more because of the uncertainty of our economy right now.
Mm-hmm.
But I think there are probably a lot of people who, on the second Sunday of a month, might entertain having some cash or bringing a check for a specific purpose. It's just something to think about.
Okay. Well, I appreciate that suggestion. It's a good idea. And I'll say that, pledging, you brought up a really good point that making a pledge is people are uncertain about it, and it maybe causes some hesitation or a little bit of fear about saying that you're going to give a certain amount of money to the church. But it's a pledge, it's not a contract. So we're not going to come after you if you don't fulfill your pledge. The pledge, what it does is it helps us understand what the church can anticipate, and it helps us budget. And that's all it is. It's a planning tool. And I would encourage you that, if you made a certain pledge or you think that maybe, well, I can only pledge $100, it's not really going to help. Yes, it will. And if you ever have changes in circumstances, all you have to do is just let us know, because that helps us plan also. And so it's not, you're not signing in blood that you're going to give $150,000 to the church, for example. But it's just a pledge. It's just, you're saying that you're going to do it, but if things change, it happens. Okay? We understand that.
Time for one more question.
Okay. Any more questions?
Do we have one more? Yeah, go ahead.
I know, in the reports, we're going to be having okay. The audit report, the audit done this year, are we going to release the management letter that will come with that to the
Yes.
vestry?
So we are, right now, just so you guys know, that there'll be a letter that comes from the auditor that basically offers their opinion about our controls, our processes, and our record keeping, about whether they're according to industry standard, national church canon, all those good things. And yes, like I said earlier in the presentation, that we are getting audited for 2021 because they have to go back a year to establish a baseline. So basically, we're getting 2021, 2022, 2023, 2024 audited. And it's going to take some months for a couple of months for that to happen, getting all the records and all the different things together for them. And so when they do come out, we'll release them. We're going to publish them to the church. They'll be placed online, or however we're going to do that. But yes.
All right, thank you, David.
All right. And if anyone has any questions, my email address is treasurer@strichards.org. Feel free to email me, contact the church, and we can do that. But thank you all for your time.
You can leave the microphone too. Okay, we have two ministry updates. I'd like to invite Warren Gillespie up here to share the good news about the pumpkin patch. And then we have a message from Spencer, and a couple of the kids are going to come up here and give a brief testimonial. Please continue staying. We have vestry and delegate elections following that, which is an important part of this meeting. So Warren?
Thank you, boss. Got my iPad with me here. All right, so your 2024 Pumpkin Patch report is found in your program there, pages 35, 36. It's a quick read. I won't repeat the contents here, but I'll focus on several different things. In my time, 7-8 years now, as business manager and Pumpkin Meister, I found that our goals annually need to raise $100,000 in pumpkin sales, and we need at least $5,000 minimum in donations, and we've been short of that most years on the donation side. We need that to garner $40,000 for our stipends and our community outreach. This year, our total contribution amount for outreach was $33,000, so not too bad. We had a lot of headwinds, okay? We had 3 weeks of 90-degree temperatures, which really slowed sales. That was our biggest headwind. Yeah, we do have competition. Everybody sees little patches here and there. But the city of Round Rock charges an entry fee over at Old Settlers to enter, and their quality's not that good, according to some of our returning customers. The Pro Bass Shop opened one up this year, but they're more expensive than we are. And so I really kind of discount competition as really a headwind. Yeah, it's a nuisance, but nobody has our brand, and nobody has our Highway 79 visibility, okay? We are known as the Pumpkin Church, okay? And our patch is a charity patch, and our returning customers come because they want to feel good about paying expensive pumpkins for expensive pumpkins and making a donation to community outreach. They feel good about that. You know, this year we put a real premium on our volunteers to get out there and really message our church brand with our first-time customers, and to welcome our returning customers who are faithful at coming in and keeping them up to date on who our contributions go to, what for charities are we reaching out to help in our communities. And this has been the key to building our base and securing donations to offset our expenses. Really, I just want to thank everybody again who helped out in any way, shape, fashion, or form during October. This was a complicated patch operation due to the temperatures and the number of spoiled pumpkins. You can read all about that there. But for every challenge that we had and that those temperatures presented, and the fact that our pallets were aging out and needed replacing, the Good Samaritan stepped up and made me look good in the showers by helping out, and hence at the end of my report you'll see the half a dozen people that were presented an MVP award because of their really significant help in keeping our expenses to a minimum and helping us no notice when increased labor was needed to move pumpkins from our reserve area into the patch late in the season. So that's all I want to report about with regard to our experience this past season. I want to conclude, though, by answering two questions that I'm aware are floating around our congregation. The first is, well, why don't we apply our net proceeds to cover our pledge shortfalls? Think about it. I think I already answered that question. We have a brand. We are known as the Pumpkin Church. We are known for our charitable giving. So let me ask a couple of questions in return to you. If we forsake our brand, our charity patch brand, what message does that send to our volunteers? What message does it send to our other parishioners about St. Richard's missional outreach outside our red doors? What message does it send to our long-term customers who've been coming to support our missional outreach? You know, for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction, right? Every facet of life. And so if we did forsake our brand, do you really expect that we would reach our stated goals of 100,000 in sales, greater than 5,000 in donations if we forsake our brand? I'll just leave y'all with that. Let you chew on that for a little bit. Secondly, I said last year would be my last year as Pumpkin Meister. I mean, this old dog is not ready for the rocking chair, but I'm certainly ready for the porch. But after Father Cameron left, the senior warden offered to double my salary if I would extend for a year. And so now with my retirement financial security assured, I've taken him up on that offer. But this year is going to be my last. And we have a really good nucleus of a team that work many of the moving parts of the pumpkin patch. And I'm grateful for all of their work. And they're faithful and continuing on. But what we need is a new pumpkin meister next year. And in that effort, I'm really looking for somebody to ride shotgun with me this year, so that we can get up to speed and get a little understanding of all the facets that go into producing our pumpkin patch missional outreach. So with that, I will give up the mic, but I'll be back in the back end of the parish hall here if you want to ask me any other questions.
Thank you, Warren. Thank you very much. Thank you for your service, too. All right, everybody know this guy. Let's see if I can get it to work.
Hey, St. Richards. I'm reaching out to you today. I'm recording this little video, but I'm actually going to be out at Camp Allen when you're watching this video. It's a weekend with the Junior Daughters of the King. Our 3 girls are attending this camp, and we'll be here or there over the weekend. And so I thought I'd send you just a quick video. Sorry I couldn't be there today. But I do want to say thank you to everybody for all the love, the prayers, the support, the donations, and everything y'all have done to make our ministries work together. It wouldn't happen without you. Whether it's the pumpkin patch or our mission trip, our youth group that we have on Sundays and on Wednesdays, and all the fun outings that we do to help students and families connect to each other. It's been a blessing to see God working, and I'm so excited to see what happens this coming year in 2025. I have invited a couple students to come and share today and just kind of share a little bit of their heart about what they've experienced at St. Richard's, and wanted just to invite them up. It's Delilah Rosenbaum and Grace Habits, and there might be somebody else also, but I just wanted to make sure that y'all knew that that I love y'all and I miss y'all. I'll be back this coming week. I'm excited to share what we experienced out at Camp Allen, the Junior Daughters of the King retreat that my kids are at. I'm excited to learn about it and see if that's something that we might do here at St. Richard's. And I'm thankful for the Daughters of the King at St. Richard's for helping send our kids this time. And I just look forward to seeing y'all. Y'all know how to get a hold of me, so please, please, please reach out if you ever have any questions, or if you ever want to step up to help in some way, or if you have an idea of maybe something we could do together. I'm all ears. I'd love to chat. Hope you have a great day. Thanks.
Okay, hi everybody. My name is Delilah. Before I started, me and Grace definitely thought we could do this without writing something down, and quickly realized we cannot. So we ended up writing a little speech down really quick, and somehow ended up writing basically the same thing. So if it's a little repetitive, I apologize. But again, my name is Delilah Rosenbaum. I've been attending St. Richard's for around 5 years now, and have been blessed with the opportunity to be a part of our youth. I could sit here and talk for hours about how amazing it is and all the fun things we do, but I wanted to come up here and share what this youth really is to me. I can't say that this is just a youth group anymore. These people have become not only my closest friends, but also my family. I have met not only my best friend, but I have also gained sisters, brothers, moms, grandparents, and so much more who have helped me and guided me in my walk in faith. This group of people has become my safe space, and over the past 5 years, I've been able to not only grow in my love for God, but also learn what it means to be a good person. I've traveled to places I could never imagine, and I've met people who I never thought I would be able to meet and help. This group has also helped me do that. But all of this wouldn't have been possible without the man himself, Spencer Stalker. I know he isn't here today, but I honestly can't thank him enough. Anytime there's something going on in life, he's always there for me. He truly has become some of my closest family and someone I truly love. He's always been there to support me, and it has taught me so much about God and what it means to actually be a Christian. I can proudly say that church is so much more than just a service on Sundays. Church is a youth group that's able to travel and help people in need, a youth group that I can go to with the good, bad, and ugly, and most importantly, it's a youth group that has always loved me for me and accepts me for who I am. I honestly don't know what I would do without this group of people, because losing them is like losing not only my family, but a piece of myself. People aren't lying when they say you meet your greatest friends and family in church. I know I've said thank you a lot, but there's one more person I want to thank, and it's this girl right here, Grace. There's honestly nothing bad anyone could ever say about her. I met this amazing young woman when I was around 10 or 11, and she was 12 or 13. The first day I walked into youth group, we automatically clicked. She became my best friend that day, attached at the hip 5 years later, at 16 and almost 18, I wouldn't regret a thing. She's become my best friend, sister, and partner in crime. Chances are, if you've seen me, she's right there next to me. It's crazy to think all of the milestones we've been through together. Birthdays, deaths, births, watching each other get our license, wins, losses, mission trips, struggles, our journey in faith, and now it's crazy to say, but graduation. I'm so sad to see this amazing person go, but honestly can't wait to see all the amazing things she has in store. She's my biggest role model and the big sister I always wanted. And if it wasn't for me walking into the doors for youth group on one Sunday night at 5:30, I honestly don't know where I would be. I say all of this to show how youth group has impacted my life, and honestly, I couldn't thank everyone in it enough, because they truly, again, have become my family, and they've pushed me to become the person I am today. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Grace, and I'm also part of a youth group here at St. Richard's. I've been at St. Richard's for quite a while. I don't remember exactly how long. But throughout my time here at this church, I've gotten to know so many people through the youth group and honestly just in the church. I've had so many grandmas and grandpas other than my own here, and I've made some of the most important friendships I've ever had through this youth group, like Delilah. I remember the first time she came to youth group 5 years ago, we immediately clicked and haven't been strangers since that day. Despite her being 2 years younger than me, the friendship we have had for the last 5-ish years have been one of the closest friendships I've ever had. To say friendship doesn't even do her justice. She has honestly become a sister to me, and I can't wait to see her grow in her faith and continue to be the most amazing young woman I know she is. There are so many amazing memories I have with this girl like Dee now 2 years ago. That was, I think, the best worship weekend I've ever had, and I'm glad I got to spend it with her and the whole youth group. I know for a fact that her friendship will last a lifetime because of what she has done with me through St. Richard's. I think pretty much all of my friends know that I go to church and I am a Christian, but she's really one of the only ones that we can both openly talk about God with and our walk in faith with each other. I have always grown up in going to church, but always felt kind of forced in a way. There was never really a point where I wanted to go until middle school and high school. I know that just comes with being a little kid, but when I first started coming to youth group, I feel like I really found my people, and of course Spencer is amazing and making it possible to do so many amazing things and so many opportunities and get to go to so many amazing places to do God's work. I've gotten the chance to know so many amazing people from this church that has really helped me figure out what it means to be a Christian. Growing up, I went to a Catholic church in Houston, and I was switching between my dad's Catholic church and my mom's church when we got here. I remember before I even found the youth group here, this church was so welcoming and really made me feel like they wanted to get to know me as I am instead of expecting me to become a Christian who I already knew how to act and had expectations that I lived up to. I was okay to come here when I didn't really know what I was doing, and honestly still don't really. The support and love from this congregation is why I come here each Sunday, even with the choice to attend the Catholic church with my dad. Through the youth group and the church itself, I've found some callings and opportunities to open up a new world of faith and people outside of this church. I could go on for a while about how amazing this youth group and this church community is, but unfortunately he did say this meeting would end close to 1:30, and we are getting a little close, but thank you guys so much.
Wow, that was moving. Thank you very much. Okay, we have just one more item before we close the meeting out, and that's our vestry and delegate election. The way this works, I recognize that we have enough members here to qualify as a quorum, and I'm going to make a motion that we accept the slate of delegates, or the vestry slate as presented here on this screen. The vestry slate is comprised of Tom Cooper, Ron Johnson, Brent Saxon, and Brian Christian. Jerry makes a second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right, the ayes have it. Thank you. All right, I'm going to make a motion that we accept the Diocesan Council slate of delegates comprised of Robin Mueller, my beloved, myself, Joan Carlson, and David Carlson. We have alternates, Duke DeTeal, Ron Johnson, Tom Cooper, and Jennifer Winborn. Second. Thank you, Kathy. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right, the ayes have it. Thank you very much. So if you're in the vestry, and now the new members of the vestry, please stay after this meeting. We'll have Sarah's video. Is it teed up, or are you going to play it next? Okay. All right, so we're going to play a quick video from Sarah, our choir master, and then we'll close the meeting. So I think what we're about to see, we were graciously gifted a pipe organ. You can see the parts of the pipe organ laying around the church. A lot of it is underneath the choir loft. In case you ever want to look inside there, it's not for the faint of heart. But I think the video is showing us moving the organ. No, she had to leave. So this is what it looked like in its home before we disassembled it and moved it here. It's a beautiful instrument. It's very complicated too, if you've ever seen one in action. The bellows blowing air through those pipes, it's amazing. And there are a lot of pipes. Trays and trays and trays and trays. Some very tiny, some very big. Yes. One thing that's in Sarah's message to the congregation in the annual report is that when we were gifted the organ, we started to bring in estimates for what it would take to install the organ. It's going to take some reconfiguration of our parish, our church, and carpeting and pews moved and a place to hold it against the wall. And it's going to require some finances that we don't have today to build it. So we're putting it on hold for the time being as we get our financial situation under control. But someday, hopefully in the nearer future, we can install this beautiful instrument into the church. Yeah, Mickey asked, where is all this stuff being kept? So if you walk into the church and you look to your left, you'll see there's a lot of pieces of it lining the walls. And then if you look under the choir loft, which we don't have open, but you can look inside there at some point, it's just full of these pipes. we needed to keep it in a air-conditioned environment because it's very delicate equipment. So, all right, I think that's probably good, Duke. So I guess we can just leave it playing while I give my closing remarks. But I wanted to thank everybody for staying through this meeting. Again, it's an interesting time we live in. Again, didn't expect to be head of congregation right now, but I'm very blessed to be a head of congregation with St. Richard's. And the people that are here, you can just see it on your faces that you really want to see St. Richard's grow, first sustain and then grow into the beacon of light in our community. I mean, everybody feels St. Richard's as a family, and the more you give into it, the more you get. I firmly believe that. As I was kind of writing my remarks, I kept on envisioning Sid Gervais standing up and saying, "And I truly believe that," with emphasis, because he had the Holy Spirit in him so well. It's amazing. But anyway, I wanted to, again, thank you for being here. Appreciate everybody's support during this time. And the meeting is adjourned. Thank you.